Pioneers, Ronnie. 15-9, a 3.23 ERA, 6 complete games. And the rest of the story, 217 and 2/3 innings. He will give you 200+ innings a year, and that's so important. That's a stat that's a bit underrated, Mr. Kiner.
And he's had his best year in complete games and shutouts. So Ron with a very solid year. The best he's ever done in any single season. 16 victories. That was in 1985, and he's going for number 16 tonight. He'll be backed up by Keith Hernandez at first base. Tim Tuffle playing second. Elster at shortstop. Jeffries at third. McReynolds, Wilson, and Strawberry in the outfield. And Carter will be doing the catching.
Well, Phil Bradley leading off for the Phillies. Bradley batting .263. 11 home runs, 54 RBIs. Supposed to have real good speed. He only has 10 stolen bases this year, and he's been caught 7 times.
He's had 23 infield hits, so that shows a little bit of his speed.
And it shows that he doesn't steal the base very well. So Phil Bradley facing Ron Darling as the Mets need one more victory to wrap it up. Home plate umpire Bob Engel just called a strike on Phil Bradley. First base Mark Hirschbeck, Joe West at second base, and Paul Runge over at third base. They're expecting a full house here at Shea Stadium. Another banner year in attendance for the Mets as Bradley fouls the ball into the crowd, not a play. 0-2.
I like to pitch Bradley inside with fastballs. He's been hit 15 times. That's a new Philly record as you look at the overall attendance filling in.
Good fastball right there, but off the plate inside, 1-2. You know, Ralph, we talk about the hole that Bradley is supposed to have inside as he bounces the ball back to Ron Darling. Scored 1-3, 1 down. I'm surprised the American League didn't discover that hole.
I don't know enough about American League pitchers, but here in the National League, a lot of good hard-throwing fastball pitchers, and that might be the difference.
Well, 1 man down, and Ron Jones the batter. I'm looking at his stats. He'll take on Ron Darling with 1 man out here in the top of the first. Stay with us. The Mets might clinch it tonight. After tonight's game, the Mets travel to St. Louis, open up a 3-game series in St. Louis. And how about Saturday, Ralph? We'll get to see Dave West.
David West, the young left-hander the Mets have.
And there's a chopper. Tuffle. Hernandez scored 4-3. 2 down.
Well, Keith Hernandez went off of the bag, and he had to hustle back to get on the bag. Tuffle has to wait for him to get there. And the throw into the runner, but Keith reaching out and making the play.
The first baseman, Ricky Jordan.
Good timing by Tuffle as he had to wait for Keith to get to the bag and make the turn to look at him. 2 out.
Tim Tuffle, an infielder with the smallest glove, I guess, along with Wally Backman on the Mets club. Second baseman will use the small glove. As you look at Ricky Jordan, fine prospect with the Phillies. Pretty good stats since being called up from Maine. And he takes a strike from Ron Darling. Jordan is only 23 years old. In California, Richmond, California, the northern part of the state, and steps out. In Reading last year, he batted .318. Wherever he's played, he's hit the ball well. He's big, 6'5". Swung on and missed, 0-2.
Earlier this year, he hit in 18 consecutive ball games. And if you're an old-time Mets fan, you remember that Mike Vail came up with the New York Mets and hit in 23 consecutive games as a rookie.
And you saw that graphic. He got off to a great start. Here's the 0-2 pitch. It's down low, blocked very well by Gary Carter. 1-2 Carter, the best blocking catcher I've ever seen, Ralph.
He is very, very good at picking balls out of the dirt.
1-2 pitch. Foul ball. So the count remains 1-2. Interesting to watch Carter block that 0-2 pitch. Of course, with the 2 strikes, you got to get out there as if there is a runner on third base, because if the batter swings and misses, the ball goes by. Fly ball, center field. Mookie Wilson makes the catch for out number 3. So the Phillies go quietly in the first inning. We played a half inning. No score, Phillies and the Mets.
Please report the incident to the nearest
Oh, Don Carmen,
security person.
the southpaw on the mound for the Phillies tonight. 10-12 on the year. Last year with the Phillies, 13-11. And the rest of the story this year, 179 innings pitched. So Don Carmen pitching against the Mets.
He'll be backed up by Jordan at first, Samuel at second, Jeltz at short, James at third, Bradley, Hayes, and Jones in the outfield, and the veteran Parrish behind the plate.
Carmen pitched 35 games last year for the Phillies. This is his 34th. And Mookie Wilson will lead it off for the Mets. Mookie batting .296, and he takes down low, ball one.
Back in '86, he made 119 previous relief appearances before he got his first game start. Since then, he's been starting on a regular basis.
Lance Parrish catching for the Phillies and flashing the signs to Carmen. Down low. 2-0 on Mookie Wilson. He'll be followed by Greg Jeffries and then Keith Hernandez.
Mookie hitting .420 in that 12-game hitting streak.
Number 9, Greg Jeffries. Here's the 2-0 pitch to Wilson. There's a strike.
12-game hitting streak, a career high for Mookie Wilson. He has hit in 21 of his last 22, hitting .389. And he's had a hit in 30 of his last 33 games, hitting .398 in those 33 ball games.
And the 2-1 pitch. Fouled out of play, so it's 2-2. The Phillies have retired 2 numbers in their history, and they have an awful long history. I'm surprised at that, Ralph, that they haven't retired more.
Some clubs don't do it. I don't even know who the 2 are. Chuck Klein, one of them?
No, Richie Ashburn and Robin Roberts.
Chuck Klein has been one of the great players in the history of the game.
They got to get his number retired. Outside, 3-2. The New York Mets have 3 numbers retired. 14, Gil Hodges. 37, Casey Stengel, and of course, in dramatic fashion this year, number 41, Tom Seaver. Full count and Wilson. A chopper. And he's got a hit. Mookie Wilson, an infield hit.
Well, this crowd really into this ball game. They're here to see the Mets win it. And this little chopper out here, no chance for Jeltz as he has. And Mookie running those bases. He can get down that line. He has now hit in 13 consecutive games.
Well, Mookie Wilson at first base and Greg Jeffries the batter, batting .372. 6 home runs and 13 RBIs. The last 2 years, Baseball America voted him Player of the Year. Fastball on the outside corner for a strike. 0-1. He has scored 17 runs since being recalled from the minor leagues. We got reports up here in the major leagues that Jeffries had trouble defensively, but so far he's looked pretty good, Ralph.
He's very, very quick, so it can't be because he has no range.
It's easy to get a tag placed on you when you're in the minor leagues, and boy, is it tough to shake a tag.
You got those tough infields to play on, too.
Whites aren't that good. Wilson leading off first base. Carmen's pitch to the plate, down low for a ball. It's 1-1 on Greg Jeffries. Jeffries told me that wearing number 9, there is some significance between him wearing number 9 and, of course, Ted Williams. I think more so today, guys take numbers of their idols when they get to the big leagues. The 1-1 pitch off the plate. Now it's a strike. Good pitch, 1-2. When you were playing, Ralph, did they just give you the number or did you have an idol?
They just gave me the number, and then I started out with number 43. There's a late call. That pitch looked outside, but it was called a strike.
He had a good look at that ball. Boy, did he look at.
He can't believe it.
He had a better look at the ball than Bob Engel, the home plate umpire. Watch that ball right into the glove, a la Pete Rose. Fouled off. Now that might have been a little bit of a bad ball, but he wasn't going to give him a chance to call him out.
Well, that's good hitting, because if you have an umpire with a wide strike zone, you got to protect against it.
Umpires, I think, more so in years gone by, would try to teach young players a lesson when they first came to the big leagues.
They want you to know they're the boss.
Doesn't happen as much today. And the 1-2 pitch to Jeffries. And one hopper, nice play. Jeltz, who goes to Samuel for one. Over to Jordan, not in time. So they got the force at second base, but Jeffries safe at first.
Well, Jeffries has made some outs, as anybody would figure.
Now
But
batting,
his outs have been
the
hard
first
outs. This
baseman,
ball almost a base hit
number
was a
17,
shot.
Keith.
And he has made good contact ever since he's been up here. And that's a good sign, because when you make solid contact in your at-bats, you're going to hit.
Well, Jeffries on first base, and another guy from Northern California with the bat in his hand, Keith Hernandez. Hernandez with 10 home runs, 53 RBIs. Hernandez has scored 41 runs this year. And the first pitch from Carmen, a breaking ball up high. It's ball one.
Harmon has a good move to first, and on that pitch to the plate, he had Jeffries going back to the bag.
And Parrish can throw. He had great success in the American League throwing on runners. Did not have success last year. Here's the 1-0 pitch. It's off the plate. 2-0. 2 balls and 1 strike on Keith Hernandez. Will be followed by Darryl Strawberry.
Let's look at Jeffries now. On the pitch to the plate, he's leaning back to first. So he hadn't figured Carmen out.
Swung on and fouled off. 2-1.
Keith was not in the starting lineup at the last minute. He was put in, and I think he probably said, hey, I want to play tonight. We might win it.
That's right. And he was not obviously in the lineup back in 1986. I believe he had the flu that night.
He had the flu and he didn't play. Magadan played. I think Magadan got 3 hits in the game.
He did.
And then Keith came in for defense in the last inning, just so he could be a part of that winning game.
Jeffries is checked at first base. And of course, on the other side of the field tonight, the Phillies would rather leave town with the Mets not clinching it against them.
Jeffries a bigger lead now, so maybe he has figured out what Carmen's doing.
A lot of times it pays to have a good base stealer on the ball club, especially a guy like a Joe Morgan who studies the pitchers, because when you get a kid in the major leagues, a guy like Morgan can tell him what to look for from a pitcher's move. Base runners say that it's easier to steal off left-handers than right-handers.
That's what Lou Brock used to say all the time. That's hard to believe.
It really is. 2-1 pitch. Popped up. Way up in the air. Center fielder Von Hayes is there. And gloves it for out number 2. And Jeffries retreats. Here he is, Darryl Strawberry, 36 home runs. He hit one last night. He puts a buzz in the ballpark when he hits a home run. And he takes strike 1 from Don Carmen.
Half of Darryl's home runs have been hit off left-hand pitching this year.
Well, the other day, left-hander walked McReynolds to get to Strawberry, and he popped one out of the park. Here's the 0-1 pitch to Strawberry. That's a strike. How about that call by Bob Engel? What's he doing? Kind of has a fancy strike call.
Well, here's the pitch, and it's right at the knees, and a little exhibition put on by Engel.
The Ziegfeld follies have had an effect on just about everybody.
Mark Grant will have to get him in the act.
Here's the 0-2 pitch to Strawberry outside. 1-2. Mark Grant, the Pitcher with the San Diego Padres, imitates a lot of the umpires throughout the National League.
He has him down to a T. Darrell's hit a home run in his last 3 ball games. The Mets record is 4 games with a home run.
Well, he's in the groove. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Strike 3. So Strawberry strikes out. Looks like Bob Engel with a pretty big strike zone tonight. But the Mets go down. Jeffries is stranded on first base. We played 1 here at Shea Stadium, and there's no score. The Phillies and the Mets. Well, the bullpen here at Shea Stadium, Sid Fernandez, Bob McClure in the middle, and Dave West, who will pitch Saturday afternoon in St. Louis. That game can be seen right here on Sports Channel. He was selected the 3rd top prospect in the International League this year, Dave West. And the batter, Von Hayes. Hayes batting .274, 6 home runs, 42 RBIs. So Big Dave West, 6'6", will be pitching Saturday afternoon for the Mets. Ball down low to Hayes, 1-1. Of course, Bobby Ojeda was scheduled to pitch, and he had a fortunate accident. Bobby resting in the hospital today. A pretty good pitch right there, but it was called a ball, 2-1. And I guess you just have to wait till next spring to see how Bobby will fare.
It'll take about 4 months before he can even get into a situation where he can throw a ball.
Yeah, really unfortunate. Just a classy guy. Good major league player, but not a class.
Knowing him, he'll be out there as fast as he can.
Boy, what a comeback from the elbow operation last year. 2-2 pitch to Von Hayes. And a ground ball to Hernandez. Darling covers first. That's a given. 1 down. Scored 3-1. It's a pretty good tag team when the ball's hit to Hernandez and Darling's covering.
Number 8.
2 outstanding defensive players hooked up in this out at first base. Keith Hernandez back in action again, bothered by that hamstring.
1 man down, and the batter, Juan Samuel. Samuel takes a strike. Samuel this season batting .242, 11 home runs, 65 RBIs. Kind of an off year for Juan Samuel. But he played 100. This is his 148th game.
Last year he led the National League in long hits. He had 37 2-base hits, 15 3-base hits, 28 home runs for a total of 80 long hits. And that was better than Darryl Strawberry, who was second to him with 76.
Well, he drives this ball to center field, but Mookie Wilson's there. He gloves it. 2 down. So Juan Samuel hitting the ball hard, but right at Mookie Wilson. Ralph, as an outfielder, how many balls, if a ball is hit hard, does it have the knuckle on it most of the time?
That was the knuckleball right there. You take the spin off the ball, and it goes out there like a knuckleball and acts like a knuckleball.
When do you anticipate the ball acting like a knuckleball? Can you tell the way where the ball is hit on the bat?
Not really. You have to wait till it starts to come out there. Then you see it start to flutter out there, going left and right.
That's a nice experience. I caught Bruce Del Canton. He pitched for the Kansas City Royals. Tough enough to catch when you know it's coming. 2 out, and Lance Parrish takes down low, ball 1. Parrish batting only .221, 15 home runs, 59 RBIs. And he takes a strike. 1-1.
At one time, he had the record for home runs by a catcher in the American League with 32. Carlton Fisk went by him, had 33 later on.
Fouled off.
Roy Campanella has hit the most home runs in the single season as a catcher. He hit 41 year as a catcher.
And Roy Campanella was a great player, but it's tough to compare a guy like Roy Campanella with a guy like Gary Carter as far as power is concerned, because they played in different ballparks. Line foul.
Roy had more power than Gary.
Did he?
Yeah.
Even though he played in Ebbets Field and Gary played in Montreal and then at Shea.
You still got to hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roy had outstanding power. He really did hit it hard, and he was dangerous.
1-2 on Lance Parrish. Another foul ball. I always felt it was difficult to compare home run hitters, because if Joe DiMaggio played half of his games at Yankee Stadium and was a pull hitter, how many home runs would he hit in Detroit playing half his games there?
Well, you really can't put it up that like that, though, because you get pitched differently. In a big ballpark, you get a lot more good pitches to hit because they're not afraid of you hitting that ball out of the ballpark as much. In a smaller park, they're scared to death, and you don't get many good pitches to hit.
Now, of course, as a hitter, you're giving the pitchers an awful lot of credit saying that.
Well, they don't always do what they're trying to do. That's the fortunate part of this game.
For a hitter.
That's right.
Here's the 2-2 pitch to Parrish. Inside, 3-2. We saw Bob Engel with a big strike zone on Greg Jeffries and kind of a small strike zone with Lance Parrish. Full count on the Philly catcher. 2 men out. Ground ball, shortstop. Elster bobbles, picks it up, flips. Do it. Scored 6-3. Elster to Hernandez, and that'll do it for the Phillies. Here in the second, they go quietly once again. We played 1.5. No score. The Phillies and the Mets. Well, you saw that Sterling Doubleday Productions. As you look at Kevin McReynolds, the year was 1980 when Nelson Doubleday and Fred Wilpon bought the New York Mets, brought in Frank Cashin. They're going after their second division title tonight as Kevin McReynolds takes ball 1. Those first few years, they took some heat here in New York.
Well, they really had a job because there was no farm system. There was no team to speak of. They had finished either next to last or last for something like 7 years.
Long drive, but foul. Yeah, that was some kind of building they did with the New York Mets. They built up the farm system. Of course, they brought in Al Harrison, Joe McIlvaine, Lou Gorman came in at the time. Now general manager of the Red Sox. Tonight, the Mets can clinch their second division title since the new regime took over in 1980. And there's a strike, 2-2. And how about the Phillies? You look at their organization. They have struggled and struggled and struggled. Foul out of play. They have teased the fans in Philadelphia. Again this year, they were picked to compete with the Mets. 33.5 games behind the Mets here in September. Here's the 2-2 pitch to McReynolds. Outside. 3-2.
1986, the Mets clinched the pennant on September 17th in game number 145. 1969, it was September 24th. In 1973, they clinched it on October 1st in their last game of the year.
3-2 pitch to McReynolds. Popped up. Playable. Fair territory. Everybody's pursuing it. James, the third baseman, calls for it and makes the catch. 1 down. Well, a lot of excitement here at Shea Stadium, and there's been a lot of excitement all year and for a few years. Stay with us. The Mets could clinch tonight.
Pirates are not playing tonight.
The Mets win tonight. It'll be their 94th victory of the season. Carter takes outside, ball 1. Gary Carter batting .242. What a trade that was, picking up Gary Carter from the Montreal Expos. He takes a strike, 1-1.
Well, they got Carter to build for a championship ball club, and they certainly had one in 1986, and now you're here again in 1988.
And the 1-1 pitch to him. There's a strike, 1-2. You know, you look back to last year, Ralph. How about the pitching staff if it stayed healthy?
Could have won it very easily last year. They had a devastating amount of injuries last year.
This could be their 3rd in a row. There's a ground ball up the middle. Nice play. Jeltz to first, not in time. So Gary Carter with an infield hit. How many of those does he get during the year?
Well, Carter came into this game hitting .395 against the Phillies with 5 home runs. And here he gets his 3rd hit of this series. He is now 3 for 9. Darryl Strawberry with 5 home runs against the Phillies. Kevin McReynolds with 5 home runs against the Phillies. And Gary Carter with 5 home runs against the Phillies. The heart of the batting order for the Mets.
Timmy Tuffle, the batter. Tuffle wants the second base umpire to move out of his way. So Joe West moves. Joe takes up quite a bit of ground down there at second base.
Takes up more when he's got his guitar.
Country Joe West, the songwriter, writes country and western songs. And there's a wild pitch. Carter goes down to second base.
Well, Parrish had no chance on this one. This is a wild pitch. It's wild pitch number 7 for Carmen this year.
So 1-0 on Tim Tuffle. He'll be followed by Kevin Elster as you look at Gary Carter on second base. And Tuffle drives the ball to center field. Von Hayes turned the wrong way, but he makes the catch and gets the ball back in. So 2 out. Ball was flipped over to second base and had Gary Carter flinching.
Number 21, Kevin Elster.
That's right. Remember down in Philadelphia, Ralph?
First week of the season, he was going back to the bag after a fly ball, and they got him off the bag.
They say the best at the hidden ball trick today in the major leagues is Marty Barrett of the Boston Red Sox. And the batter now, Kevin Elster. Did you ever get picked off in a hidden ball trick?
Never did.
It's got to be embarrassing. Elster with 9 home runs and 36 RBIs, and he takes outside ball 1.
Danny Reagan, our director, says that when he got picked off at second, it was on his birthday.
What a way to celebrate. Yeah, Carter made a couple of base running blunders during that week or two early in the season. And the 1-0 pitch to Elster did not have a good swing, 1-1.
Elster's had 3 hits against the Phillies this year, hitting .094, just one of them a home run. Just one, only one. He's had trouble.
Yeah, defensively, he can play with anybody. He had a nice play to end last inning, bobbled the ball, was able to pick it up and still get Lance Parrish first. There's a strike, 1-2.
Only game of significance in the American League. Detroit 2, Baltimore 1 in the first inning.
There'll still be some significant games played at Yankee Stadium this weekend when the Red Sox come in for a 3-game series. Red Sox dropping 2 or 3 to Toronto. 1-2. Kevin Elster meekly hits the ball back to Carmen. He goes to first base, and that'll do it for the Mets and Kevin Elster. They strand Carter on second base. And here at Shea Stadium, we played 2 innings. As the Mets try to clinch it, no score. The Phillies and the Mets. Well, Chris James will lead it off for the Phillies as we go to the top of the 3rd inning here at Shea Stadium. A lot of anticipation in the air. More so than anxiety.
This crowd is ready to celebrate.
And Darling's first pitch to James is a ball. 1-0. Speaking of anticipation, big Met fan. In fact, big fan of yours and Bob Murphy's. As Chris James takes a strike, 1-1, is getting married this weekend in Westchester. Big Met fan, Jeff Mogul. Grew up listening to you and Bob Murphy. He'll probably get married in a Met uniform. 1-2 on James. So I want to wish the best to Jeff Mogul up there in Westchester. And his fiancée, Sherry. Outside. 2-2 to Chris James. Security is here again tonight for this game. James gets jammed and muscles the ball into left field. Muscled the ball hard to left field. Maybe he didn't get jammed.
He's a pretty strong player, and the ball was in tight, and he hit it with kind of a strange swing. He hits the ball back out of the catcher's glove. And I'll give you an A for that. He did muscle it out there.
He is strong, and the batter now with James on first base is Steve Jeltz. Jeltz batting 182. They've tried Jeltz at shortstop, Luis Aguayo now with the New York Yankees, and there's a strike to Jeltz. Told a story a few weeks ago, a couple years ago, when the Cubs and the Phillies made a trade, sending shortstop Larry Bowa to the Cubs in exchange for Ivan DeJesus. They wanted a throw-in, and the throw-in the Cubs wanted, I guess it wasn't a throw-in, they wanted Aguayo, Luis Aguayo. The Phillies said, no, we're not going to part with Aguayo, but we will throw in this other guy we have. And they threw in Ryan Sandberg. Pretty good trade for the Cubs. And they get James. Darling picking him off first. I think James is safe, Ralph.
Oh, he's really going at Mark Hirschbeck. And here comes Lee Elia out to try and save his player. And also give another few words of advice to Hirschbeck. Hirschbeck comes right up to talk to him.
Yeah, one time you'd have to chase the umpire. He'd be walking with his back to home plate towards right field, but Hirschbeck came right back to talk to Elia. Let's take a look.
Oh, he got it.
Yeah, he was out. He was out.
Good tag by Keith Hernandez. He got to that elbow before the hand got to the bag.
And a good call by Mark Hirschbeck, the first base umpire.
You really like to argue on this play because if you are picked off, you try to put the blame on the umpire.
It's embarrassing. And Jeltz bunts the ball, but right back to Ron Darling. Darling goes to Hernandez. 2 down.
Number 42, the pitcher, Don Carmen.
Well, Don Carmen is the batter, and Don has not been too effective with the bat. He got his first hit back on May 16th, 1987, his first major league hit. That came after he was 0 for 49. This year he's 3 for 57.
So he's improved.
He is improving.
1-0 on Carmen. 2-0. Now what if you walked on Carmen? 2-1.
That's been done before.
2-2. A lot of times the pitchers amongst themselves have a club and they fine each other for certain infractions. I suppose walking the other pitcher might be an infraction. And Carmen, it's a chopper. Jeffries scored 5-3. That'll do it for the Phillies here in the third. They fail to score after 2.5. No score. The Phillies and the Mets. Well, Ron Darling will lead it off for the Mets, batting 192. We're in the bottom of the third inning. No score. 2 hits for the Mets, 1 for the Phillies. Ron wearing number 12 has to be the lowest number for any pitcher.
I don't know.
Ordinarily, they're up in the 40s and 50s, and Darling fouls the ball off. 30s.
Ralph Branca wore number 13. Kirby Higbee wore number 13. I can only tell you the highest number, not the lowest.
There's a strike. 0-2. I guess the highest number for a player today would be Carlton Fisk, number 72. The reason he wears 72 is he wanted 27 and it wasn't available. Darling strikes out, 1 man down.
Bill Boiselle wore number 96, a pitcher for the Giants in Boston, other clubs. And he is the only pitcher in the history of baseball that wore his hometown on his uniform.
Is that right?
Came from a town called 96.
There was a player with his birthday on the back of his uniform. As Mookie Wilson steps in, he hits a high chopper to third base. James goes to first. Scored 5-3, 2 down. The player who wore his birthday on the back of his uniform was Carlos May.
Third baseman, Greg Jeffries.
And I believe his
May 1.
No, I believe it was his name was there, May. His birthday was in May. If I recall, the number was like 12 or something like that, but he had his birthday on the back of his uniform. And Greg Jeffries, the batter, with 2 men down. Swung on and missed. Strike one. Jeffries, as I mentioned earlier, the player of the year for Baseball America the past 2 years. He is not in contention this year. The 3 candidates are Tom Jordan of the Kansas City Royals, Mike Harkey of the Chicago Cubs, and Gary Sheffield of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Dwight Gooden's nephew.
Yeah, 2 pitchers and a shortstop are candidates for Player of the Year as far as Baseball America is concerned, a minor league publication. Here's the 1-1 pitch to Jeffries, and he fouls the ball out of play. 1-2. So ironically, Jeffries in the major leagues and tearing up the major leagues, and he's not a candidate.
That's because his numbers weren't that good. And that award usually goes to high numbers.
Jeffries batting .372 in the big leagues. Struggled in AAA. He pops the ball out of play. So 1-2. His bat even looks quicker tonight. Maybe it's he's keyed up because of his first at bat. He grounded into a force play after Engel called 2 balls out of the strike zone. It looked like 2 balls out of the strike zone. They call them strikes. And the 1-2 pitch to Jeffries. And a chopper right up the middle, base hit. Jeffries with the wide turn, and he'll go to second base easily. So a single and an error on Von Hayes. Jeffries busting out of the box and taking a big turn at first base and making it easily into second.
You're going to see a lot of this because Jeffries hustles all the way. He is a Pete Rose type ball player. He'll take advantage of anything that can happen because he is on his way. Now watch him come out of this batter's box. It's just a routine single, but he turns it into a single and an error by his hustle.
Well, let's see if the Mets capitalize on Jeffries' hustle. He's on second base, and the batter Keith Hernandez, an error on Von Hayes. So a single and an error. And Hernandez takes a strike, 0-1. Over his last 18 ball games, Hernandez has 15 RBIs. He'll be followed by Darryl Strawberry. Bottom of the 3rd inning here at Shea Stadium. If you just tuned in, no score. The Mets and the Phillies. Hernandez fights the ball off, pops it up. Phil Bradley makes the catch, and once again, that'll do it for the Mets. They strand a runner on second base. And we've played 3 innings here at Shea Stadium as the Mets pursue the National League East flag.
Well, Ron Darling starts off with his first pitch to Phil Bradley, gets a called strike as Tim McCarver joins us on the broadcast here. Could be a big night, Tim.
It certainly could.
Bradley bounced back to the pitcher's first time up, and now he gets nicked by a pitch, and that's the 2nd time in this series he's been just flicked by a pitch. That's the 16th time he's been hit by a pitch ball.
The right fielder, Ron Jones.
Well, the fastball inside to Phil. He makes his move, and it looked like it hit his right arm. That's the advantage of wearing a long sleeve shirt. Get hit by more pitches. It looked like that ball just hit his shirt. I'm kind of saying that tongue in cheek, but just nicked his jersey.
A la Ron Hunt or Eddie Stanky. Eddie Stanky used to wear that big blouse and have it all hanging out, and he'd get hit on the blouse and get first base. Did it on purpose.
I don't know if wearing a blouse is worth it.
And that ball fouled, so Carter unable to handle it as Bradley was running with the pitch. They check to see whether or not it was a foul ball. The second base umpire, Joe West, is holding his hands up. Was it fouled or wasn't it? And now the home plate umpire, Bob Mingle, said it was.
Here it is right here. Carter Fortunately, drops that ball. It was certainly a foul ball. It went down. You could see the trajectory going down. The hit and run play. Jones fouled it off.
Jones out of the good play by Tuffle his first time up, and the pitch back to Ron Jones. Ball one. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jones 2 for 8 in this series. He has really gotten off to a good start.
The hit and run was on the first pitch. It may be on here on the even count. 1-1 to Jones.
Throw to first base, and Bradley back.
I'll tell you, that was a good example of why not to lead off a base, whether you're running or not, with your hands on your legs. He almost got picked off there from about 2.5 feet. I don't understand why they would do that.
And the split finger fastball outside. 2 balls, 1 strike.
See, when you have your hands on your knees, regardless of whether you go to your right or your left, you got to take your hands off your knees before you run. So why put yourself at that disadvantage to begin with? And Bradley's done it every time leading off.
That might be the key to the fact he hasn't stolen many bases in the National League. And the pitch is high, ball 3. Bradley, who is fast, has only 10 stolen bases in 17 attempts.
All those little things add up, because usually the play at second base is bang bang one way or the other.
3-1 the count. No score in the game. There goes the runner, and the ball is swung on and fouled back. So again, Bradley off and running, and again he has to go back to first on the foul ball. Phillies have been a strange ball club. They have used 101 different lineups so far this year. Of course, losing ball clubs do that. Trying to find the right combination, but it's just not there. 3-2, the runner should be going again. And Bradley is running, but it's ball 4. The throw down to second is in time, but it's ball 4, so we have a walk, and the runner is safe at second on the walk.
Carter wanted the call. He thought the call was a strike, and on a 3-2 count with less than 2 outs, obviously a catcher wants a quick call. Nah, that was inside. But Carter didn't get a quick call, and that's why he went ahead and threw it anyway.
You got to throw it.
You got to throw it if there's no call, because it could have been a strike. If it were a strike, it would have been a double play. As it stands, there are 2 on and none out.
And the batter will be Ricky Jordan, who has been quite a sensation for the Phillies since coming up from the minors. Hitting .314, he gets a split finger fastball for ball 1.
So now look at Bradley at second base. Instead of his hands on his knees, he's got his hands on his hips. So see, I guess he'd have his hands on his chest if he gets to third.
Maybe on his
keeps
elbow.
going. Yeah, he keeps going up with. And watch, see, he doesn't put his hands on his legs. Now he puts them on his hips. Now see, this is styling. Legs at first, and then your hips at second, and then when you get to third, you put them on your chest. I don't know. It is kind of strange, Joe, isn't it?
I've never seen that.
I haven't either. I mean, he is not in a running position at second base. He's flat-footed, got his hands on his hips.
Looks like he's trying to decoy everybody.
Like he's waiting for a bus or something. I mean, what's going on here? That's just unusual way. I don't think I've ever seen anybody lead off and put their hands in that position right there.
1-1 the count to Jordan. And it's now 1-2. Jordan with 10 home runs, 36 runs batted in.
Good looking hitter, isn't he?
He is strong. Phillies with runners at first and second, no one out. We're in the top of the 4th. So far, no scoring. And Darling in trouble here after hitting a batter and walking one. We got a beach ball flying around down in the stands, so time called by Bob Engel, the home plate umpire. He thinks it might come on the field. Can't win.
The guy saying it's a cinch to clinch. He spells cinch S-I-N-C-H.
Next delivery way outside 2-2 as Carter shifts over in front of it. Good play there. Now Bradley on the right field side of the bag.
He's wandering around all over that bag. Isn't he out there?
He went on the other side of the bag. I haven't seen that either. 2-2. He finally gets a short lead. Man, his lead is short. And this ball pulled foul. So the count stays at 2-2.
Well, you know, we're kind of, laughing about that, but there are just certain ways that you lead off bases. At first base, the lead's important. At second base, it's important to be moving into the baseline. See, but Bradley stops. Now, that's not the way to lead off second base. Flat-footed. See how stopped he is?
This ball hit out to the second baseman. Tuffle, he goes for one. That's all they can get. Good job.
Good play, too, by Elster.
Elster is becoming one of the smoothest shortstops around.
Elster caught it, jumped over Ron Jones, who was sliding hard, and then threw to third, just in case Bradley had an idea about making the wide turn.
Center fielder, Von Hayes.
Just a pivot and a throw to third. Really a good play by Elster. Here it is one more time. As Ralph said, this is a smooth way of working. See, he didn't even look up. He just wheeled and threw to third, just in case Bradley were off.
Elster with only 13 errors this year. That's a fine defensive season. Now the batter is Von Hayes. And that pitch, ball one. Mets playing their infield at double play depth. See what Bradley does on leading off at third base.
Well, let's see where the hands go this time. Well, they're a little higher on the high hips, hip pointers now. See, you should be walking forward once Darling comes set, walking toward the plate. He's flat-footed.
And this ball hit out the left center field. It should score a run. Mookie over to make the catch. Tagged up at third is Bradley. He comes in to score. The throw goes in the second base, holding the runner at first. And the Phillies have the lead 1-0.
Second baseman,
RBI number
Juan
43
Samuel.
for Von Hayes. Bone chip operation in his right arm curtailed his play for 2 months. And Bradley walks home, as he can do with that ball being deep enough.
So the Phillies leading 1-0. Still a runner at first. And the batter, Samuel, he promptly hits it in the left field for another base hit. And runners now at first and second. Samuel had lined out his first time up.
Ralph, in
catcher,
spring
Lance
training,
Parrish.
I've heard stories of how managers used to, and as a matter of fact, several managers I played for, Johnny Keane, number one, would take you around to each base in spring training about once a week, show you how the leads were. And I heard with Casey Stengel doing it, it was hilarious. I've heard some stories from Whitey Herzog.
Opening day.
Yeah.
First day of spring
Yeah.
training in 1962. He had a meeting out in the mound. Then he took the players single foul around the bases. He said right here now is first base. And down there 90 feet away is second base. Now we'll go over to third base, 90 feet more. And then we come into home plate. And the first pitch to Lance Parrish. Ball one.
You know, Casey was funny like that, but there are different ways of being on base and taking your lead and knowing what you're going to do and watching the outfielders, knowing what you're going to do when the ball's hit there. It's all part of the fundamental play in the game, and you can't be careless when you're out there.
Play on at second. Tuffle takes the throw, and it was very close. Perfect throw. Ron Darling looking for victory number 16, trailing 1-0. He has won 71, lost 41 in his major league career. He is 7-6 lifetime against the Philadelphia Phillies. And the fastball he calls strike 1-1. Parrish grounded out to short his first time up. He's had 2 home runs against the Mets this year with 11 runs batted in, hitting .351, and most of that was done in the first week of the season. He just tore up the Mets in the first series between these two clubs. 1 ball, 1 strike. And another fastball. 1-2. Parrish, a good fastball hitter.
They're probably looking for something other than the fastball. He took those pitches as though he were looking for the split finger fastball or a curve.
So Darling under the gun right here with the count in his favor. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 2 men away. Runners at first and second. Needs a big out here. And this pitch grounded foul. Good backhand stop.
By Mindy Rashbaum down there, the left field ball girl.
Mindy
She's
can pick it.
improved. Yeah, she's improved. Takes a lot of hard work.
She's ready. Turtleneck sweater.
Yeah.
So 1-2. Darling to try it again. And it's fouled again. Darling coming inside. Ball pulled down the left field line. Fouled by about 100 feet. Parrish in this series 3 for 7. Ricky Jordan, the runner at second base, Samuel at first. And a good play again by Carter.
Now, Carter has just done a very, very good job all season long on balls in the dirt. To have that mobility and to have caught 1,771 games is just remarkable.
2-2 the count. And it goes to 3-2, and the runners will be going with the pitch. Benito Santiago has been getting the raves as the young catcher coming on to be #1, but Santiago has not mastered handling pitches in the dirt in any manner of fashion.
Goes after with his glove. That's one of the big reasons.
Runners go, and strike 3. So Darling equal to the task as he works the count full, then strikes out Lance Parrish. So the Phillies get 1 run on 1 hit. They leave 2, and the score at the end of 3.5 innings. The Phillies 1, the Mets nothing. Well, we're going now to the bottom half of the 4th inning. The Phillies leading by a score of 1-0, and we certainly want to pass on our condolences to Harry McCabe's family. Harry, a great fan of the Mets and a fellow that I knew very well, and sorry to hear about his death. For the Mets, it'll be Darryl Strawberry to lead it off. Darryl was struck out looking his first time up. On the mound, Don Carmen, and the first pitch a high slider for ball 1. We mentioned the fact that Darryl has home runs in his last 3 ball games, and there was a stat on the others that have played for the Mets that have hit home runs in 4 consecutive ball games. Darryl 3 times has had home runs in 3 consecutive games this year. And this one pulled foul.
That's a good swing on a tough pitch. And if he weren't that quick, he would have been jammed with this pitch. Watch the people behind the Mets dugout immediately on their feet. He draws that type of attention when he hits.
Now the count at 3 balls and 1 strike. Phillies leading 1-0. Darryl in his last 16 games with 6 home runs and 14 runs batted in. And it's fouled off, so the count goes to 3-2. Darryl has had a great season against Philadelphia pitching. He's hitting .364 coming in with 20 base hits, 5 of them home runs. And he has driven in 18 runs against the Phillies. Darryl second in the National League in RBIs with 96. The leader is Will Clark with 104. And the 3-2 pitch. Walks it. Well, Carmen last year set a Philadelphia Philly record by allowing 33 home runs, breaking a record that Carlton held. Carlton gave up 30 in 1 year. And this year, Carmen has given up 18 home runs. But there he walks Strawberry. That puts the tying run at first with no one out and brings up Kevin McReynolds. Kevin popped up to third his first time up. First walk by Carmen. And a strike call. Mets have had base runners in every inning. Strawberry in that last pitch also is breaking back toward first base. One strike to count. And now a ball call. So it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Carmen does not have a good move to first base, but he looks like he does.
Looks like Carlton when he goes into that movement. Carlton, of course, had a great move. Fly ball hit out to left center field. It's deep. Going back is Bradley to the wall, and he is there. So Bradley, using up the entire playing field, makes the catch, and Strawberry back to first.
Kevin hit it on the just off the sweet part, got it down toward the end and didn't get all of it. And Bradley has room.
So McReynolds back to the bench, and the batter coming up will be Gary Carter. Carter with an infield base hit his first time up. Phillies leading 1-0. Strawberry a threat to steal. The runner at first. He has a very short lead, and this ball blooped into right field. Going back is to Samuel. He can't make the play. Strawberry to second and holding there. So Carter now with 2 hits and 2 at-bats.
Now this ball hit right off the end of the bat, and Strawberry held up to see if Samuel would make the play. Watch Strawberry hold up, and now by the time he goes, it's a little late. You could certainly understand his reticence in going to third base. However, if he had made that move, it would have been an excellent base running play.
So runners at first and second and 1 away, and Tim Tuffle the batter. Tim flied out to center field his first time up. And the first pitch a called strike.
I asked Tim before the ball game down near the batting cage, I said, "How is your hand?" He said, "It's all right." And I looked at him and I said, "Is it all right?" And he said, "You know, you got to play." And I said, "I understand."
So it really isn't all right.
No,
it's really hampered him.
No, that's right. He didn't want to use that as an excuse. He hasn't used it as an excuse all day, but all year. But you can see his last 2 fingers taped together. That hand's been giving him problems all year long. You have not heard one alibi out of Tim Tuffle, and that's to his credit.
Tuffle makes his home in Greenwich, Connecticut. Went to school there. 1-1 pitch. Ball 2. 2 balls, 1 strike. Carmen back on September 29th last year pitched a 1-hitter against the Mets, won the game 3-0. The only hit was an infield hit by Mookie Wilson. Phil's leading 1-0. And the fastball foul back out of play. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
See, that's a frustrating thing when you're used to driving a certain pitch and you're fouling it off the other way. There's just nothing you can do about it. You cannot hit with sore hands. That tendon in his left hand, he was on the DL for 21 days earlier in the year. used to driving that ball and you foul it off. It's frustrating.
2-2 the count. And it goes to 3-2.
I send the runners here.
Tuffle, a good contact hitter. Carmen is not a strikeout pitcher.
If you're Lance Parrish, what you're thinking here is if the runners do run and Tuffle swings through the pitch, go for the trail runner, Gary Carter.
So it's 3-2. Strawberry at second base. And he is running. The pitch is swung on and missed. The trail runner is out. So the strikeout double play ends the inning as Tim McCarver called it perfectly. And no runs on one hit and one man left. The score at the end, 4 innings of play. It's the Phillies 1, the Mets nothing. Top of the 5th inning. The Phillies leading 1-0, and the leadoff batter for Philadelphia will be Chris James, who has a single and is 1 at bat. Philadelphia 1 run on 2 hits. The Mets have no runs on 4. And the Mets have left 1 runner on in every inning so far.
Did you wear your old clothes tonight in case you get champagne in the clubhouse?
I have a change of clothes.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I have a change of shirt. I didn't bring another pair of pants.
I didn't bring the pants either, but I got to change the shirt. And also I got another sport coat. But you got the greatest story I've ever heard.
Oh, yeah.
About 1986.
It was actually
little looper in the right center field. It'll drop in for a base hit. And James now 2 for 2.
Actually, Ralph is back in 1976.
76.
With Keith Carpenter, who was one of the owners of the Philadelphia Phillies. He and his brother Rully Carpenter were given the club by the prior owner, Bob Carpenter, and I knew that Keith didn't have a lot of experience with pennant clinchers. And so I told him what he ought to do was bring an old pair of clothes to the ballpark the next day.
And now the batter, Steve Jeltz. Jeltz hitting 8th in the batting order. Ron Darling on the mound, pitching and picking up a strike.
Well, he did bring the old clothes like I suggested. And when he had the old clothes there, he put them in a corner. I said it's a good idea to hide them because guys find out where they are, they take them, and then you end up having champagne poured on your good clothes. So he told me where he hid them, and I took them.
1 strike to count.
So I took his old clothes. Well, he finds out that I took his old clothes, and he puts my clothes on, my good clothes on. And I come in after the game. I can't wait to go over to Keith Carpenter and pour champagne on him. And I'm pouring champagne on him, and I look at him. He's got my clothes on. I thought, I'm telling you, I was double crossed.
That is a great turnaround.
Oh, do we have some laughs about that thing?
1 ball, 1 strike. And this ball popped up down the left field line. A long run for Elster, but he's good at this play, and he puts it away. Elster becoming an outstanding shortstop.
He's getting a lot more confidence and playing with a lot more confidence. And you can see it growing as the season goes along. Earlier in the year, there may have been some trepidation in this play, but not so now. Kevin really taking charge and making a nice play.
So 1 away, and the batter coming up is Don Carmen, and he's in the bunting situation. Philadelphia leading 1-0. Mets trying to break open the champagne after the game tonight with a victory. Magic number is 1. The Pittsburgh Pirates are not playing, so this season in the hands of the Mets right now, their own destiny, at least at this point. Carmen squares, and did he bunt at the ball? A pitch out of the strike zone, and it looks like it's ball 1. Chris James, a runner at first base. Keith Hernandez charging from first. And it's bunted and bunted perfectly. Picked up by Jeffries. The throw to Tuffle for the out. And on the sacrifice, the runner goes down to second.
and Carter goes to third. That's something that you may not see when you're out at the ballpark, but when a third baseman fields a bunt, watch the catcher. See, Jeffries ends up fielding the ball, so there's nobody to cover third. So that's the catcher's responsibility. And Carter alertly went down to cover third base.
So a runner in scoring position with two men away, and Phil Bradley is the batter. Bradley was hit by a pitch ball in the fourth and scored on the sacrifice fly by Vaughn Hayes, the only run of the game. He has been hitting much better of late, as you can see, and the first pitch ball won.
Get a high shot of an infield during a baseball game, and sometimes in bunting situations it's almost like a greensward chess game. Guys moving around to their particular responsibilities.
And that pitch, a fastball for ball two.
You know, Ralph, and I just thought of this, and one of the nice things about baseball is you can see where the different infielders' responsibilities are. Football, for instance, you have all those responsibilities in the interior line, but with the naked eye, unless you have an instant replay, you can't see it.
And the fastball foul back 2-1. Yeah, you can't tell whether they're stunning or not. It's too hard to pick up.
You can on instant replay, and John Madden, of course, explains it so very well all the time with the chalkboard. But pre-chalkboard days, boy, it was tough to know what those big linemen were doing. And if you're at a football game, it's really tough. You get used to instant replay.
Little fly ball to right field, Strawberry right there. And he makes the catch, and that retires the side. A hit and one left in scoring position, and the score at the end of 4.5 innings. It's the Phillies 1 and the Mets nothing. Kevin Elster will lead it off for the Mets. The Phillies leading 1-0. We're in the bottom half of the fifth inning. Elster batting for the second time, bounced back to the mound his first time up. Phillies 1 run on 3 hits. The Mets no runs on 4. Don Carmen on the mound. Came into this game with 3 wins over the Mets this year. And Elster bounces it down the line. That's called a fair ball by Paul Runge. Elster will go in the second with a stand-up double, and the tying run is at second base with no one out.
The only guy who can tell whether that was fair or foul is the catcher. And Lee Elia looked at Lance Parrish, and he asked him where the ball was. That's a fair ball. But it looks like it's foul because it landed about 2 feet foul. And after the play, Lee Elia, fairly I might add, looked at Lance Parrish. Lance Parrish gave him that, meaning about 2 feet foul, and that's why Elia is out to argue. Parrish is the only guy who can tell. Unless it's so blatant. Here it is again. That ball's over the bag. But it lands 2 feet foul. That was a good shot by our low first camera.
It's whether it crosses over the bag on a ground ball. If it's a line drive and goes by the bag in the air, it's where it hits. So now Ron Darling the batter, and he's in a bunting situation. Ron was struck out his first time up. Mets get their 5th hit in the game.
The one thing Ricky Jordan can't do as a first baseman is throw. He has a very, very poor arm.
Play on at second, no throw, as the shortstop Jeltz comes over to cover.
So even though Jordan is in a lot, you can still bunt it toward first because he can't throw.
And it's Darling swinging away, and he misses strike 1. Jordan, the first baseman, was in about 70 feet from home plate. Now he has moved back. So the swing has accomplished something. Taking some of the pressure off at first base. Chris James, the third baseman, in the cut of the grass. And now Darling squares and bunts it foul, so it's strike 2. James, who has played the outfield mostly, for the Philadelphia Phillies. Started out his career as a third baseman and was put in the outfield. Now he's back at third with Mike Schmidt on the DL and out of action for the rest of the year. 2 strikes to count. Again, Jordan has stayed back. He's even with the bag at first. James is even with the bag at third, so no pressure being put on. Darling swings, bounces it down to third. James holds the runner at second, gets the out. So a runner at second with 1 away as Darling grounds out, and it brings up Mookie Wilson. Mookie for the last month hitting .400 for the Mets. Extended his hitting streak with a single his first time up, is now hit in 13 consecutive games, a career high. And the switch hitter gets the first pitch. It's swung on and missed. Carmen well. Strike 2. Phillies leading 1-0. The Mets with a tying run at second. 1 man out. We're in the bottom half of the 5th inning.
Fastball away. Up, slider away.
And the indication by Mark Hirschbeck is he did not swing, so it's a ball.
You don't often see a catcher ask for the slider away, but there Lance Parrish asked for and received a backdoor slider. Something else away, it appears.
No one covering that time, so the pitcher just bluffing.
Hate to give location. If you're a catcher and you have a runner at second, he may not give the pitch selection, but if he gives the location of the pitch, that's a big advantage. He didn't give anything then.
And it's hit out to the first base side. A great play. The toss to Samuel, hoping to get the double play. Great reactions there, but a base hit. But a run might have been saved.
Boy, that's quick thinking by Lincoln, wasn't it? Huh?
I'll say.
Ricky Jordan, watch this play. I don't think I've ever seen this. Flipping to Samuel. And Sammy realizing he can't get Mookie Wilson running to first base, but a brilliant play to save a run temporarily by Ricky Jordan. How about that? Usually see that with a second baseman or a shortstop, not to a first baseman, to a second baseman.
Ray Mack and Lou Boudreau for the Cleveland Indians used to pull off that play. Transferring the ball to the fielder who did not catch it and get not a double play. We're talking about an out.
Yeah.
So now runners at first and third. Mets trailing 1-0, and the batter is Greg Jeffries. Jeffries with a single and 2 at-bats, and this crowd on its feet.
Listen to this crowd.
And Jeffries fouls it off, strike 1.
21 years old, you get a standing O after 20 games. What does the future hold?
I don't know, but if you keep hitting 400, I guess the future is bright. One strike to count to Jeffries, a switch hitter. The throw to first, Mookie back. Phillies are playing their infield back a double play depth, with the exception of the first baseman holding against the runner. Jeffries has outstanding speed. And a strike call. So Carmen out in front with a 2-strike count. Elster the runner at third base. Wilson the runner at first. 2 strikes the count. And a ball call, so it's 1-2.
Jeffries called time. He didn't get it. But still quick reactions.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Grounded out to short. They won't get the double play. They get 1, and that's all in a tie ball game. Elster scores to tie it at 1.
Well, I'll tell you, you would never know from the sound of this crowd that the Mets were 11 and a half games out in front. You'd think that they were like 1.5 out in front with 8 games to play or something like that.
Crowd is really into this game.
Yeah, they came to see this thing clinched now. They
don't
don't want to wait.
They want to go home and say, I saw it. Now Keith Hernandez the batter. Jeffries at first base. He's had trouble with the motion of Carmen going back to the bag on his deliveries home. And he goes this time and no play at all. Third stolen base.
I'll tell you one thing, he continues to impress. After seeing that move 3 times, this time he just takes off. And Parrish has no chance whatsoever. No throw to second.
So that puts the go-ahead run in scoring position for Keith Hernandez. 2 men away, bottom half of the 5th inning, a 1-1 game. And the breaking ball. 2 balls, no strikes. Hernandez has flied out the 2 times he has been up. 1 time to center field, 1 time to left field. He checks the alignment of the knuckles and now sets up. Two-0 pitch, a breaking ball. Keith over the top of it, 2-1. Ground ball foul. The Mets trying to clinch it against the Phillies in 1986. They needed 1 win against the Phillies in a 3-game series and couldn't do it. They came back to clinch it with the Cubs with Dwight Gooden on the mound. Gooden started the first game in '86 against the Phillies and lost. The Phillies won 2 more. The Mets went on to St. Louis, split to clinch a tie, and then went on to win their next game at home against Chicago. 2-2. And his foul back out of play. The Mets clinched their first National League East title in 1969 here at Shea Stadium against the St. Louis Cardinals. Mike Maddox throwing in the bullpen for the Phillies. They clinched their second in Chicago in 1973 on the last game of the year. And then clinched their 3rd time in '86 here at Shea against the Cubs. 2-2. And it's out in the air to left center field, coming hard. The center fielder Von Hayes, and he makes the catch, and that retires the side. But the Mets tied up on the RBI by Greg Jeffries. They had 2 hits and they left 1 in the score at the end of 5. It's the Mets 1 and the Philadelphia Phillies 1. Ron Jones will lead it off for Philadelphia. 1-1 ball game with Ron Darling working to Ron Jones. Jones has walked and also grounded out. And the split finger fastball, a strike. Ralph Kiner along with Tim McCarver and Fran Healy coming your way from Shea Stadium. What could be a very eventful night. Mets could be the champions of the National League East with a victory here tonight. And there's strike two.
And a reminder, folks, that we'll carry the post-game celebration if the Mets win. Ralph said earlier that Pittsburgh is not playing tonight. But if the Mets win, the policemen will be out on the field and we will be in the clubhouse. And Fran will be in the booth. We'll be all over this place, right, Ralphie?
We will have it covered.
Yes, sir.
And we will be covered with champagne. Darryl Strawberry puts it away as Jones is out, and that'll bring up Ricky Jordan. Darling has given up 1 run on 3 hits. He has struck out only 1, but a big strikeout for the final out in the 4th inning with runners at first and second. Ground ball to third, a great backhand play by Jeffries, the throw across for the out. Jeffries with an outstanding backhand pickup.
You mentioned earlier something that I thought was quite salient. Ralph, you mentioned the infields in the minor leagues and the infields in the big leagues. They're a lot truer hops, even though he didn't get one there, and Keith knows it. Look at Keith kind of peeking over there at him. This is a tough do or die in between hop. You could almost see him breathe a sigh of relief when he came up with that ball.
He did.
Yeah.
He knew it was tough.
That heart was a flutter.
Well, you called it right. It's do or die. You either make the play or you don't. I mean, it's a swipe at it because that is a tough play. Now with 2 quick outs, the batter will be Von Hayes. Hayes has driven in the Philly run. Did it with a sacrifice fly in the 4th. Mets tied it up with a run in the 5th, driven in by Jeffries. And Von Hayes gets a fastball for ball 1. Cincinnati won their game against San Francisco today, so their hopes are still faintly alive. There's a call, strike 1-1. Magic number for the Dodgers is 3. The Dodgers play later on against San Diego and LA.
How about that? A welcome. I saw Rafael in the clubhouse before the game. Rafi now the shortstop for the New York Yankees, and the Yankees still very much in it. They're much more in it than Cincinnati is, I'll tell you that.
That is for sure. The Yankees playing Boston starting tomorrow, 3-game series. The magic number for Boston is 7.
The Yankees win 3 this weekend. It's 1.5 after Sunday, and anything can happen. Detroit hanging tough. Speaking of the AL East, they lead Baltimore 5-3 in the 4th inning. Only other game in the American League, Minnesota at California later on.
Detroit's magic number is 6. This ball hit hard, and Tuffle with a great play. He gets up. Can he get him? He can. So 2 outstanding defensive plays. 1 by Jeffries, 1 by Tuffle. And the Phillies go in order. And the score at the end of 5.5 innings, the Phillies won, the Mets won.
Ground ball is short. This could be it. There's 1. There's 2. The game is over. The Mets are the champion. At 9:07 on September 24th, the Mets have won the championship of the Eastern Division of the National League.
There is the first celebration of the Mets winning in 1969 against the St. Louis Cardinals as Joe Torre grounded into a double play. And the Mets winning the National League East in 1969 as you look at Darryl Strawberry with a count of 2 balls and no strikes.
Isn't it something that year 2 future managers of the Mets made the last outs, one for the divisional championship and one in the World Series?
Davey Johnson made the last out in the World Series.
Forgotten about Joe. Joe ended up managing the Mets in the late 70s, and of course Davey the last 5 years.
That was their reward.
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
2 balls and 1 strike. And there is strike 3. Strawberry says no. Strike 2, I should say. Strawberry says no. Darryl was called out on strikes his first time up.
Well, Engel has shown all night he's got a wide plate, so the hitters just have to adjust.
There's one that he gave back to him. That ball was right in there. Look at Parrish.
Well, Bob Engel's got 3 guys mad at him now.
in one plate appearance. And Strawberry walks for the second time. Tie ball game at 1. Strawberry on at first, no one out. We're in the bottom half of the 6th inning. And the batter for the Mets is Kevin McReynolds. McReynolds has popped up to third. He is also flied out to deep left. Mets 1 run on 6 hits. They've had base runners in every inning. The Phillies 1 run on 3. Near capacity crowd here at Shea Stadium. And a line drive to left center field. A base hit. Strawberry's going to try for third. No throw by Von Hayes. He throws into second. The ball gets away momentarily. And McReynolds has put the go-ahead run at third with no one out with a single.
Darrell knew who was out there. Von Hayes, who had surgery, bone chips on his right elbow. And Darrell, there was no doubt in his mind. He turned on that burner going around second, and Hayes has no play. Here's Strawberry. Watch him take off. Boy, he is a beautiful runner. He's like a thoroughbred. Makes it look so easy. He and McReynolds both when they run.
Really gliders, and now runners at first and third, no one out, and the batter's Gary Carter. Carter 2 for 2 tonight. Infield hit in the second, a bloop base hit to right center field back in the 4th inning. Phillies playing back for the double play. And the fastball for ball 1. Carter's had a great year against Philadelphia. 5 home runs, 17 hits. Batting over .400 against the Phillies. And the fastball a strike, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Lee Elia has Kent Tekulve up in the Philadelphia bullpen. Second in the all-time appearance list, over 1,000 this year. He went over 1,000. He didn't have 1,000 appearances this year.
1,009 games that he's appeared in. Second to Hoyt Wilhelm. And an infrequent throw over to first base. Reynolds breaking back. The ball gets by Parrish. Here comes Strawberry, and he'll score, and the Mets take the lead 2-1 on the wild pitch.
Now the fastball outside. Parrish can't get a glove on it, or not enough of a glove certainly. And Strawberry scores the go-ahead run here in the 6th inning.
On the play, McReynolds moves on down to second. The count 2-1 to Gary Carter. Two and 2. Second wild pitch by Carmen in this game, and he now has had 8 for the year. Two balls, 2 strikes. And it's popped up on the right side. Coming over is Von Hayes. Also there is Don Jones, and Jones bumps into Hayes, but Hayes holds on to the ball. One away, holding at second base is McReynolds, and that'll bring up Tim Tuffle.
Hayes calling all the way. I got it, I got it. YOLO Tingo, huh? Or is it Tango? YOLO Tango.
No, YOLO Tingo. Elias Chacon.
Richie Ashburn tells that story of how he had to say YOLO Tango because Chacon couldn't speak English. He started saying that, then Frank Thomas ran over him because he couldn't understand Spanish.
That's right, ran into Ashburn was having all kinds of trouble with Chacon, and finally he found out how to say I have it in Spanish, and when he did, Chacon broke away from the play, left him alone, and Thomas ran into him. Richie right here in this ballpark tonight, announcing for the Phillies.
YOLO Tango, that was Hayes then.
And a pop-up on the right field side once again. Coming up is Jones. He's having trouble. He runs into the second baseman, Samwell, and Samwell holds on to the ball. So 2 hit-and-run collisions by Jones in 2 appearances at the plate.
Well, Ron apologizing to Samwell, and you learn after a while to just open your mouth and yell as loud as you can. Nobody can hear you. Elia now going out. Jones ran into Hayes, and now Samwell. Sammy appears to be all right. YOLO Tango. Now they should be able to understand it. I know Richie Ashburn does. There's Richie to the right of your screen, along with Andy Musser, one of the Philly announcers.
Well, the option here is to walk Elster to pitch to Darling. Mets leading 2-1, a runner at second base, 2 men out. Elster with a double his last time up, but a run scored, 1 for 2 tonight. They're going to put him on. There's ball 1.
Late in the game, I think this is the only thing you can do.
Got to play the percentages, even though Elster has not hit well against Philadelphia. He's had only 4 hits and 34 at bats.
He did double and score the first run against Carmen, however, in the 5th inning. Darling, no out man, though.
Darling with 14 base hits has driven in 2. Last night, they walked McReynolds to get to Strawberry. Strawberry, that was night before last. Strawberry hit a 3-run home run. When things are going bad, they stay bad. Phillies 33.5 games out. They are in 6th place in the National League East. And ball 1. A strike call off the fastball. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. Center field. Von Hayes is there, and he makes the catch on the edge of the warning track to retire the side. But 1 run for the Mets to take the lead. 1 hit and 2 men left on base. The score at the end of 6 as Fran Healy joins Tim McCarver. It's the Mets 2 and the Philadelphia Phillies 1.
Fran Healy back in, and the curveball to Juan Samuel is inside. He's 1 for 2 on the night.
It's interesting. In '73, the Mets finished with an 82-79 record.
That is the worst record for any division winner since 1969, when divisional play started.
The Mets had made a trade with the Braves that helped them in 1973, picking up Felix Millan and George Stone. Stone won 12 ball games that year.
Hit hard to left center, Mookie Wilson there. One out here in the 7th. The Mets going to clinch it once again for the 4th time
The catcher, Lance
in their
Clinch.
27-year history. And they have never been beaten in the playoffs. They won in 69, 73, and 86. Winning 2 World Series and losing to the Oakland Athletics in 1973. Here's Lance Parrish. Ground ball, base hit up the middle. Hit number 4 for the Phillies. So Parrish at first. One out here in the 7th, and Chris James coming up.
Although Ron Darling is really not overpowering, he has a pretty good fastball tonight. A good fastball for major league pitchers. 86, 87 miles per hour. Of course, the curveball, speed of a curveball, good curveball is 68 to 72 miles per hour. Slider 81 to 82 miles per hour, and a changeup off the fastball 70 to 72 miles per hour. And Darling has all 4 pitches.
So Chris James has half the Philly hits this evening. 2-1 ball game. Popped up. Is it playable? Hernandez near the photographer's booth, and it's back into the stands. 0-1 to James. Fran, I was talking to C.J. Cherry, the traveling secretary of the Cardinals, the other day, and unrelated matter other than baseball, and he was telling me that Jerry Risch, who is the visiting clubhouse man for the Cardinals, hopes the Mets clinch it here at Shea. He doesn't want all that work cleaning up after a celebration. And another nice play by Mindy Rashbaum.
Well, they're prepared down in the clubhouse tonight for a celebration. Everything is covered.
Be a long trip to St. Louis tonight, huh?
It certainly will. Of course, the Mets leave after the ball game and play tomorrow night, but the celebration, I'm sure, will go on for a while tonight.
If they can hang on. 0-2 to James. We're in the 7th, 2-1 New York. Got him with a fastball on the outside corner. That's strikeout number 2 for Darling. 2 out here in the 7th. And Steve Jeltz coming up.
The shortstop.
What a job
Steve
Darling
Jeltz.
has done for the Mets. The Mets have a lot of winning pitchers career-wise, and that's a ball. But stolen by Gary Carter.
That's right.
Where he sat was so important.
Spoken like a true catcher.
That's right. Steal those
After my
pitches.
heart. Jeltz 0 for 2. Sharply to Elster. Good play. Over to Tuffle. The Mets need 6 outs, and they will be the National League Eastern Division champion when this game ends.
Ground ball to the right side of the infield. Backman has it to Hernandez. Mets win. It's over.
That was 1986. This is tonight. Not yet is it clinched. Mookie Wilson to lead it off in the bottom of the 7th. 2-1 New York. High, ball 1. 7 hits for the Mets, 4 for the Phillies. The Mets 93 and 57 on the year. Curveball by James at third. Base hit. The 3rd hit of the night from Mookie Wilson.
Now batting third baseman Greg Jeffries.
Jeffries 1 for 3 with an RBI to tie it in the 5th inning. Pitch out, nothing doing.
See more base runners with that type of lead now off first base, where they have the back foot behind the left foot, so they can just turn over the left foot. You see Kevin McReynolds do it, Darryl Strawberry do it, Mookie Wilson. Obviously, when you're squared, it's tougher to do the crossover step. A lot easier when you're opened up. So we see batters at home plate opened up, and now we see runners leading off first base more so today than ever before, opened up.
Well, we've just had a visit from an old buddy, Rafael Santana, who was honored earlier tonight. His name and lights here at Shea Stadium. He's in the booth, dropped in to say hi. He's a good man. He's doing a great job with the Yankees, and we are so happy to see him as usual. Another throw to Mookie at first. Mookie back in time. Mookie got another hit, 3 for 4 tonight. The man here, come back here, Rafi. Come back here. Now you're on camera, pal. George will understand.
No, he won't.
No. Exactly. It's your off day. You just coming over. You love the game, right? No, that's right. It's kind of a scouting report. Exactly. The Yankees 4.5 back, 4 in the loss column. Jeffries fly ball to right field. In is Jones. And Ron, with nobody around him, makes the play. Great seeing you
Rafi,
too,
see you
Rafi.
later.
Thanks for dropping in.
Now batting the first baseman,
With Spanish radio, as a matter of fact. Doing Spanish radio, Rafael Santana, great guy.
Yes, he
And
is.
a well-respected man here at Shea in the clubhouse before the game. And he said he was on a scouting mission. Huh?
Well, of course, I'm sure they have a scouting report on the Red Sox. They play the Red Sox tomorrow night. Big 3-game series at Yankee Stadium. Right now, beach ball on the field here at Shea.
Yankees almost have to win
Oh, sure.
all 3,
Yeah.
but if they win 2 out of 3, that would mean they're 3.5 back and with 6 games to play.
It's been another
Awfully
exciting
tough.
year in New York for baseball.
Well, I'll say. Ground ball right side. Samuel has to go to first as Hernandez, who is 0 for 4 on the night, grounds out. Wilson moves to second, and here's Darryl Strawberry. I'll tell you, friend, we have been talking about a Subway Series all summer long as Lee Elia is coming out to the mound. And I don't know whether we're going to have a Subway Series, but one thing is sure. We will have a bi-coastal Hubway Series. LAX and LaGuardia JFK.
Yes.
The 2 hubs on the west and east coast respectively.
Well, Dave Magadan on the pregame show talking about the Dodgers, and they're very happy about the possibility of playing the Dodgers as you look at the Colby and Ruffin in the bullpen. And of course, the Mets have handled the Dodgers in an easy fashion this year, but that can be misleading as far as playoffs go. Back in 1971, the Giants beat the Pirates about 11 out of 12 games, and the Pirates beat us in the playoffs.
Bob Robertson had a big playoff.
Big
2
playoff.
home runs in one game that I remember. 3 home runs in one game.
In San Francisco at Candlestick Park. Of course, we had to pitch Gaylord Perry the first game, and we could not use Juan Marichal to the 3rd game. And when Juan pitched, it was a 1-1 series, and Juan lost the ball game 2-1. Pitched a great game, and so we lost the playoffs to the Pirates. But I'm sure the Mets are well aware that you got to be ready for those Dodgers. Dodgers having a great year.
Orel Hershiser going again tonight for victory number 23, and he has 40 consecutive scoreless innings, and they're playing against San Diego at Dodger Stadium this evening. Darryl has walked twice, he scored a run, and he's struck out. He's 0 for 1 on the night. High ball 1. And you know, Elia probably told Carmen to pitch him carefully. But if he does, he's out of there with McReynolds the next hitter. You're going to see Tekulve probably.
Elia and Carmen sounds like an Italian opera.
Low, ball 2, 2-0. I'll guarantee you, if I'm the pitcher, and a manager told me this when I've lost 91 games on the season, I'm going to go after the left-hander.
Oh, yes.
Carmen's scheduled to lead off in the 8th inning. We'll see how Don works it. 2-0 to Strawberry. Outside, ball 3.
Turn them loose. Just like,
No doubt.
who was the one who had the song, Turn 'em Loose from Philadelphia? Fabian?
was. Something like that.
Oh, they're going to walk him to go after McReynolds.
Well, if you do that, now Ely is probably going to bring in Kent Tekulve. He may make a double switch. Yep, here he comes. That's tough on a left-handed pitcher. It really is. On any pitcher.
Well, Tekulve will come in the ball game. I wonder if he'll be escorted in by a couple of those horses out there in the bullpen. A lot of security here at Shea Stadium tonight in anticipation of the Mets clinching the Eastern Division of the National League. And there's Kent Tekulve.
Well, I'll tell you, you really got to feel for Don Carmen in this situation and really empathize with Lee Elia also. Having to make the move, trying to win the ball game. Well, this call to the bullpen is brought to you by New York Telephone, who reminds you that a call can make a difference.
Well, Kent Tekulve in the ball game, 3-6 on the year, 3.57 ERA, 75 2/3 innings. He came to the major leagues at about 27 years old.
Really an amazing story.
Oh, he's had an outstanding career. Came up with the Pirates. Phillies.
1,010 games. He's now only 8 games behind Hoyt Wilhelm.
And Hoyt Wilhelm, the first relief pitcher to go into the Hall of Fame. Tim, you live down here in Philadelphia. Do you think the Phillies are going to make wholesale changes during the offseason?
I think they're going to make retail changes during the offseason.
It's more expensive than wholesale.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
There's his record.
Well, you got to build from the farm system too.
Well, and
just like the Mets have. I mean, you've got a typical analysis of these two clubs tonight. One whose farm system, a very proud farm system in the 1970s, really shattered during the 1980s, picked apart, picked clean. And the New York Mets in the 1970s, a poor farm system, and now flourishing in the 80s.
And the Mets tend to stay away from free agency. They've been burnt going after free agents. I think the only ball club that I can remember off the top of my head that has done pretty well through free agency, and it was all the ways back in the 70s, in the mid-70s, was the Yankees.
The Yankees did exceptionally well with free agents.
Of course, now the Mets are doing it through trades and bringing guys up in the minor leagues. In fact, they scored their first run tonight. Kevin Elster doubles, and Jeffries drives them in on a force out.
Sure, but
two young players out of the minor leagues.
So Kevin McReynolds batting now with 2 out and 2 on here in the 7th. The Mets with a 2-1 lead. Tekulve with 90 appearances last year, the oldest pitcher in the National League ever to have 90 appearances. A ball and no strikes to Kevin McReynolds. Cleveland, if you can believe this, back in 1944, had a guy named Joe Heaving who set the AL mark. Led the league in appearances. A slider for a strike, 1-1 to McReynolds off Kent Tekulve.
Well, it's a tough deal when you have to walk Darryl Strawberry and then you have to face Kevin McReynolds. As hot as he's been, 2 home runs the other night.
Slider, check swing. So it's 1-2. One and two to Kevin McReynolds. Way outside, 2-2. I'd like to clarify something. I said he's 8 games behind Hoyt Wilhelm, and he is in games in relief. Hoyt Wilhelm started 62 games. Make that 52 games. Wilhelm appeared in more games than any other pitcher, 1,070, but only 1,018 in relief. And Tekulve now 8 games behind him. Ground ball, third base. Tough play for James. Safe. Here comes Strawberry. 3-1 Mets. Making Wilson. Wilson scoring, flying around third. And the Mets now lead it 3-1 on an infield hit. An RBI by Kevin McReynolds.
Oh, here it is again. James charging the ball. McReynolds beating the throw and a little bit of an argument from Jordan. And here comes Wilson. Watch him run. Didn't hesitate. No, well, there was a throw, but not even close.
He ran so fast, I thought he was Strawberry.
That's what happens.
And there's Darrell. So Darrell at second base. Darrell can't go to third base on the play. He doesn't know that Wilson's going to come home.
Plus, he's running to second base. He's back to the play.
Right. Carter jammed and fouls it back. So it's 0-1 to Gary Carter with runners at first and second, 2 out. That for McReynolds, his 93rd RBI on the year. 3-1 New York. Single runs in the 5th, 6th, and 7th. We will be carrying the post-game festivities for you if the Mets win. Line drive. Bradley there makes the catch. The Mets tack on another one. Great base running by Mookie Wilson. It's 3-1 New York after 7. 6 more outs for the Mets. Tim McCarver along with Fran Healy here at Shea Stadium. These fans came out to see the Mets clinch it tonight, and the Mets are leading 3-1 here in the 8th inning. The good folks representing the New York Police Department here in force tonight, as Greg Gross will lead it off, pinch hitting here in the top of the 8th inning. Greg, a premier pinch hitter, is now 3rd on the list behind Manny Mota and Smokey Burgess. Mota with 150, Burgess 145, and Greg has 136. Strike one, 0-1 to Greg Gross. One and one to Greg. Darling all the way for the Mets. Carmen relieved by Tekulve in the 7th. And Gross pinch hitting for Kent Tekulve. On the corner. 1-2 to Greg Gross. Contact hitter with not a lot of power. Ground ball right side. Hernandez. 5 more to go. The Mets lead 3-1. Pardon me, Frank.
I think we'd be hard pressed to think of a home run hitter who was a good pinch hitter. You mentioned a contact hitter. Greg Gross.
I'll tell you one that comes to mind, Jerry Lynch of the Cincinnati Reds. He wasn't a pure home run hitter, but he had a lot of power.
Yeah.
Phil Bradley now takes a strike, 0-1.
Well, a guy who was a great hitter throughout his career and became a premier pinch hitter last few years, Rusty Staub. But not a
1-1 to Bradley. Ball and 2 strikes to Bradley. We understand that Davy Johnson is not in the dugout, but he's in his office putting on his old clothes. That's great. Line drive by Tuffle at second. So Bradley with his first hit of the night is on at first, and Ron Jones the batter. Guarantee you Davy has a beeline to the dugout. He is right in this ball game. because Randy Myers is now warming for the Mets.
There's Randy Myers.
And here comes Mel Stottlemyre.
Well, the batter will be Ron Jones with the runner on first base, and Mel Stottlemyre on out to talk to Ron Darling, along with the co-captains of the New York Mets, Gary Carter and Keith Hernandez. As Ricky Jordan will follow. How many guys are on that mound? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like the UN. Took 2 umpires to break up the meeting. They were overmatched.
And Mel asked that question that we used to love have asked of us. How's he throwing?
Yeah.
Well, that gets you in all kinds of trouble. Jones is going to be the hitter. I beg your pardon. He's 0 for 2. He's walked, flied to right, grounded to second.
Sometimes a manager or the pitching coach will have a secret signal with the catcher.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be out there telling the guy's not throwing too well.
Especially if they leave him in the game. Ground ball, base hit on a broken bat. Bradley is going to go to third base. Jones stops at first. And the Phillies have runners at first and third and 1 out. And the batter, Ricky Jordan, who homered in last night's game. There's Davey.
Why would Davey have his old clothes on?
I was really kidding about that.
I know, he's got his uniform on.
It's his older uniform. Darling will be allowed to pitch to Jordan here. Ricky 0 for 3 tonight, but he had a long home run in last night's game. 10 homers in a very short period of time. Ground ball to short, could be 2. Elster, Tuffle. To Hernandez. No runs, a hit, and 1 left. The Mets need 3 outs now, and they have a 2-run lead. Bottom of the 8th coming up.
Well, back live here at Shea Stadium. The Mets leading the Phillies. The Mets with a chance to win the Eastern Division of the National League. Stay with us as Steve Bedrosian is on the mound. 5 and 6, a 3.95 ERA, 25 saves. He missed a lot of time this year. And the rest of the story right there for the ace reliever for the Philadelphia Phillies, Steve Bedrosian. And he'll pitch to Tim Tuffle. Tuffle leading off for the Mets here in the 8th. And he fouls the ball back. And Greg Gross in right field for the Phillies. He stays in the ball game after pinch hitting for Kent Colden. So Ron Jones out of the ball game. 0-1 on Tuffle. Breaking ball swung at and missed. 0-2. Stay with us. We will cover all the festivities in the clubhouse. Tim McCarver and Ralph Kiner getting their old clothes on downstairs. Ready to greet the Mets if they win tonight. Fastball popped up right field. Gross tested right away. 1 down. So Tuffle 0 for 4 tonight. And the batter now, Kevin Elster.
Kevin Elster.
Elster to Tuffle to Hernandez, a big double play to end the top of the 8th with the Phillies threatening. This kid can play shortstop. Kevin Elster. Strike 1. Bedrosian last year won the Rolaids Relief Award. Had an outstanding year for the Phillies, breaking ball down low. 1-1. Best pitcher in the National League last year. Breaking ball misses. 2-1. his record-breaking season, won the National League Cy Young Award. Received the award in the month of November. Steve Bedrosian, 2-1 pitch. Popped up, playable. Jeltz, the shortstop. 2 down. And we're going to show you the New York Met locker room. Everything is covered. And you can see Tim McCarver down there with Ralph Kiner in anticipation of a celebration. Strike one on Ron Darling. He receives a standing ovation here, pitching a fine ball game. Outside, 1-1. Sellout crowd here at Shea Stadium. The champagne ready to pop. Foul out of play, 1-2. We talked about the woes of the Phillies, and the biggest woe, number 40 this year. Was quite a bit of the season. Was on the disabled list. He came back strong, throwing well. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Swung on and missed, strike 3. So, here in the 8th, the Mets go down. 3 more outs, and they clinch the Eastern Division of the National League. Stay with us. We'll be right back. There's the score. Well, New York history about to be made. New York Met history. California, here we come. The Mets, 3 outs away from winning the Eastern Division of the National League, and those guys have done a great job. So is he. Ron Darling now will pitch to Von Hayes. Joining me in the booth, a man who has followed the Mets since 1962, Jack Lang, and Von Hayes takes the ball. Jack, can you believe that the Mets right now will win the 2nd division under the regime that took over in 1980?
That's right, and what a machine they've built.
Oh boy.
This won't be the last we're going to see.
No, no.
Not with that pitching staff.
Oh, there's a strike, 1-1. If the Mets stayed healthy last year, this could be the 3rd in a row.
That's right.
1-1 on Von Hayes. You gotta be here to just feel the excitement in the air.
You know, it started right early in the game, too.
Boy, it did. These fans.
In the very first inning, on every pitch, the fans were up. It was like it was the 9th inning in the first inning, and they haven't let up.
They're on their feet now here at Shea Stadium. So is he, Davey Johnson. What a job he's done.
He certainly has.
Probably the most underrated manager in the game today.
We got the most underrated manager and the most underrated ball player in left field.
Yes. Strike 3, 1 down, 2 more outs.
Fans, no matter how many times you go to one of these, they're still exciting. I mean, these fans, I bet a lot of them have been here before for a clinching, but this is tonight is the most exciting for them again.
Boy, it really is. Wow. Juan Samuel, the batter, takes up high, ball 1. 1 out. We're in the top of the 9th inning.
What a game he's pitched.
Oh boy, what a year he's had. And Ron Darling throws a strike. 1-1. Popped up out of play. Darling with a 15-9 record. He's been a winning pitcher ever since he joined the Mets.
Frank, I think that's the strongest bullpen I've seen all year.
Oh boy. Oh yes, you mean with those? Yes.
With helmets on.
The horse is out in the bullpen. And a chopper to Darling.
1 to go.
1 more out.
Like New Year's Eve.
Wow. Well, they've been filling the seats all year here at Shea Stadium. The Mets about to clinch the Eastern Division title. Strike 1 to Lance Parrish.
throwing nothing but strikes now.
Fouled off. Everybody here at Shea on their feet. The champagne is about to flow in the Mets clubhouse. Stay with us. We'll cover the festivities. Ralph Kiner and Tim McCarver down in the clubhouse. Ooh! 1-2. Carter wanted it.
Look at the players. They're all on the edge. They're ready to jump out, too.
A lot of them have been through it before.
He gave it to him.
Strike three, ball game over. New York Mets win the National League Eastern Division crown the second time in 3 years. Listen to this place.